Ravi had always been curious about old and forgotten places. He liked walking through quiet streets and imagining what stories the buildings might hold. On a sunny morning, he wandered into a part of town he rarely visited. The streets were narrow, and the houses looked abandoned. Most of them had cracked walls, faded paint, and overgrown gardens. One house, in particular, caught his eye. It was a small, dusty house with windows covered in grime. The garden in front was full of weeds, and the gate hung loosely on its hinges. The roof had missing tiles, and the walls had cracks that seemed as if they had been there for decades. A sign in the front yard read, "House for sale. Cheap. Must sell fast." The price was so low that it almost seemed like a mistake. Many people in the town avoided the house. They said it was unlucky or haunted. Some even whispered stories about strange noises coming from inside at night. But Ravi did not believe in such things. He felt a strange pull toward the house, like it was calling him. He imagined fixing it, painting it, and making it beautiful again. The idea of restoring something forgotten excited him. Without hesitation, Ravi contacted the owner. The house was sold to him for a small amount of money, almost like giving it away. People in the town were shocked. Why would anyone buy that old place? They asked each other. Ravi smiled and simply said he liked challenges. The day he received the keys, Ravi could barely wait to explore the house. As he opened the front door, a wave of dust and the smell of old wood greeted him. The house was silent, except for the sound of his footsteps on the creaking floor. Sunlight streamed through the dirty windows, highlighting the forgotten furniture covered in white sheets. Cobwebs hung from the corners of the ceiling. Ravi walked from room to room, examining everything. The living room was spacious but dark. The walls had cracks, and the floorboards were uneven. He could see where water had leaked through the roof, leaving dark stains. The kitchen was old, with rusty taps and cupboards that would not open properly. The bedrooms had broken windows and old closets filled with dust. Despite all this, Ravi felt excited. He saw potential in every corner, imagining how it could look with a little care. While exploring the living room, Ravi noticed a large bookshelf. It was old, made of dark wood, and filled with dusty books. Most of the books were falling apart. Some had titles he could barely read, and others had no names at all. He had moved many old books before, but something about this shelf felt different. It seemed heavier than it should be, almost as if it was hiding something behind it. Ravi decided to clean behind the bookshelf. He carefully pushed it away from the wall. It resisted at first, but with a little effort, it slid to the side. His heart beat faster when he saw a small, narrow door hidden in the wall. The door was almost invisible, painted the same color as the wall. It had a small, rusty handle. Ravi's curiosity grew. A hidden door in a house that no one wanted? That was not something that happened every day. He reached for the handle, turned it, and slowly opened the door. A narrow staircase appeared, going down into darkness. Ravi grabbed a flashlight he had in his bag and stepped inside. The air was cold and damp. The walls were made of stone, and the smell was strong, like old earth mixed with dust. He could hear the faint sound of water dripping somewhere far below. As he descended the stairs, the floor felt uneven under his feet. Small stones crumbled with each step, and his flashlight created long shadows that danced on the walls. When he reached the bottom, he found a small room. It was almost square, with low ceilings and stone walls. The room was empty except for a pile of old books and papers in one corner. Most of them were yellowed with age and covered in dust. Some were torn, and others had pages missing. Ravi moved closer to the pile. Among the papers, he noticed something unusual, a small wooden box with strange carvings on its surface. The carvings looked like patterns of leaves and stars, delicate and intricate. His hands shook slightly as he picked up the box. It was surprisingly heavy. He carefully opened it. Inside, he found an old map and a small golden key. The map was fragile, with edges torn and corners folded. It showed the streets of the town, but some areas were drawn differently, with strange symbols instead of buildings. The key was small but shiny, with a handle shaped like a sun. Ravi could not understand its purpose yet, but he felt a surge of excitement. It was clear that this house, which everyone had ignored, was hiding secrets. He spent the rest of the afternoon exploring every corner of the house. In the attic, he found old trunks filled with clothes and letters. In the basement, he discovered jars of preserved fruits and vegetables that were decades old. Each discovery made him more certain that the house had stories to tell. Someone had lived here long ago and left behind pieces of their life for the right person to find. By evening, Ravi sat in the living room, looking at the map and key. The sunlight had faded, and the house felt different in the soft glow of his flashlight. He could almost imagine the voices of the past echoing through the empty rooms. Ravi knew that the adventure was just beginning. The hidden door, the map, and the key were all clues. Somewhere in the house or the town, there was a secret waiting to be discovered. As night fell, Ravi locked the house and left. He walked home with the map carefully rolled under his arm. His mind was full of questions. Who had made the map? What did the key unlock? And most importantly, what had been hidden behind that bookshelf for all these years? He knew that tomorrow he would return, ready to uncover more of the house's secrets. Ravi also thought about how lucky he had been. Most people had avoided the house because it looked old and unwanted. But he saw its value, not in money, but in the stories and mysteries it held. The house no longer felt abandoned. It was alive with history, waiting for someone brave and curious enough to explore it. That night, as Ravi lay in bed, he could not stop thinking about the hidden staircase, the box, and the map. He imagined what might happen if he followed the clues. He could feel that something important was waiting for him, something that could change his life in ways he could not yet understand. Sleep came slowly, filled with dreams of secret rooms, hidden treasures, and mysteries waiting to be solved. Ravi did not know it yet, but buying that house was the beginning of an adventure unlike anything he had ever imagined. The house no one wanted had chosen him, and he was ready to discover every secret it held. The next morning, Ravi woke up with excitement. He could not stop thinking about the hidden door, the map, and the small golden key he had found the day before. After breakfast, he quickly packed a small bag with a flashlight, a notebook, a pen, and some water. He wanted to return to the house and follow the clues from the map. As he walked through the quiet streets toward the old house, Ravi imagined what he might discover. The town looked ordinary in the daylight, but he could not shake the feeling that something unusual was waiting for him. When he reached the house, he opened the door and stepped inside. The sunlight streamed through the dusty windows, casting golden patterns on the walls. For a moment, he just stood and looked at the rooms, imagining what had happened here years ago. Ravi went straight to the living room and approached the large bookshelf. He had thought about the hidden door all night. The shelf looked ordinary, but he knew it held a secret. He pushed it carefully to the side, and the small door appeared. He took a deep breath and opened it. The narrow staircase leading down into darkness greeted him again. Ravi turned on his flashlight and started descending slowly. The air in the small hidden room was cool and damp. The stone walls had small cracks, and the floor was uneven. Ravi carefully stepped over loose stones as he moved toward the pile of old books and papers. The wooden box with the map and key sat exactly where he had left it. He opened it again, just to be sure, and looked at the map closely. The map was unusual. It showed his town, but some streets were missing, and certain places were marked with strange symbols he did not recognize. At the bottom of the map, there was a note written in faded ink: "Follow the path to find what is lost. Only the brave will succeed." Ravi studied the symbols. Some looked like small stars, others like circles or lines. He realized that the map was not just a drawing of streets but a set of clues. He took out his notebook and began copying the map carefully. He wrote down all the symbols and their locations. Ravi wanted to understand the pattern before exploring the town. He also examined the small golden key. Its handle was shaped like a sun, and it shone even in the dim light of the hidden room. Ravi wondered what lock it might open. After studying the map for a while, Ravi decided to start exploring the locations marked with symbols. He packed the map and key carefully and climbed back up the narrow staircase. Once he was back in the living room, he looked at the house differently. It no longer seemed empty or abandoned. Every corner, every dusty shelf, and every crack in the walls felt like part of a puzzle waiting to be solved. Ravi stepped outside and locked the house behind him. He walked through the town, following the first symbol on the map. It led him to a large, old tree at the edge of the park. At first, it seemed ordinary, but Ravi noticed a small mark carved into the bark. It looked like a symbol from the map. Ravi ran his fingers over it. The mark was old, but clearly visible. He smiled. This was the first clue, and it meant the map was real. The second symbol led him to an old stone bench near the river. The bench had been there for decades, almost forgotten. Ravi checked carefully and found another mark, hidden under a small crack in the stone. The symbol matched one on the map. With each clue, Ravi's excitement grew. He felt like an explorer, discovering secrets that had been hidden for years. As the afternoon passed, Ravi followed the map to more locations. Some were easy to find, like a small garden behind an old house or a statue in the park. Others were harder, like a small brick on a wall that looked the same as all the others. But Ravi was patient. He wrote notes in his notebook, recording each discovery carefully. The symbols were like a trail, leading him through the town, and Ravi felt he was getting closer to something important. When the sun began to set, the last symbol on the map led him to a small, abandoned garden near the river. The garden was overgrown with tall grass and wildflowers. The fence was broken, and the path was almost invisible. Ravi had never noticed this garden before. He looked around carefully and found a small patch of earth that seemed disturbed, as if someone had dug here long ago. Ravi grabbed a small spade he had brought and started digging. His hands worked quickly, and soon his spade hit something hard. He cleared the dirt and found a small metal box buried under the ground. The box was rusty but still intact. Ravi opened it carefully. Inside, he found old coins, a few letters, and a small journal. His heart raced. The letters were addressed to no one in particular, but told stories of the past. The journal described a man who had hidden treasures and secrets for someone brave enough to find them. Ravi read the journal carefully. It told of a man who had lived in the town many years ago. He had collected rare items, books, and artifacts from his travels. He feared that if people found them, they would be stolen or lost. So he hid them, leaving clues for someone patient and clever enough to uncover the secrets. The journal mentioned a hidden room in a house, protected by a key. Ravi realized that the golden key he had found must open that room. Feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness, Ravi returned to the house. The garden and the journal gave him a sense of connection to the past. Someone had waited for him to find these things. Back in the living room, Ravi examined the bookshelf and the hidden door again. The staircase seemed less scary now. He was ready to continue his adventure and unlock the secret room. Ravi spent the evening preparing. He cleaned the hidden staircase, making it safe to descend. He studied the map again, comparing the locations he had visited with the symbols. He planned carefully, making sure he did not miss anything. He felt like a detective, piecing together a mystery that had waited for decades. Before going to sleep, Ravi looked around the living room. The house felt alive. The dusty furniture, broken windows, and cobwebs no longer seemed frightening. Instead, they were part of the story, waiting to be understood. Ravi knew that tomorrow he would uncover more, and he felt ready for the challenge. That night, Ravi dreamed of hidden rooms, mysterious keys, and forgotten treasures. He imagined what might be behind the walls of the old house. The adventure had only just begun, and he could feel that the next steps would reveal something extraordinary. The house no one wanted had chosen him, and he was determined to discover every secret it held. The next morning, Ravi woke up with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. The hidden staircase, the golden key, and the mysterious map all waited for him. Today, he told himself, he would discover what was truly hidden behind the walls of the old house. He quickly packed his bag with the essentials: flashlight, notebook, water, and the small journal he had found in the buried box yesterday. Ravi reached the house while the sun was still low in the sky. The quiet streets made the house look even older and lonelier than before. He opened the front door and stepped inside, feeling a thrill run through him. The living room looked the same, dusty and quiet, but Ravi felt it had a new energy. It was a place full of history and secrets waiting to be discovered. He went straight to the large bookshelf. It had become a familiar friend over the last 2 days. Ravi pushed it aside carefully, revealing the small hidden door. The narrow staircase leading down into the secret room greeted him. He switched on his flashlight and started walking down the stone steps. The air was damp, and the smell of old earth filled his nose. He stepped carefully over the uneven stones until he reached the bottom. The small room at the bottom of the stairs had seemed ordinary before. But today, Ravi was different. He had found the buried box and read the journal. He knew this house held treasures and stories that had been hidden for decades. He looked around the stone walls and noticed something he had not seen before, a small keyhole embedded in the wall. His heart raced as he realized the golden key must fit here. With a deep breath, Ravi took the key from his pocket. Its golden handle gleamed even in the dim light of the room. He inserted it carefully into the keyhole. The lock clicked softly, and the stone wall slowly creaked open. Behind it was a hidden chamber. The room was filled with shelves of old books, boxes, and objects carefully arranged. Dust floated in the air as sunlight from a small window above touched the treasures inside. Ravi stepped inside and shined his flashlight around. The chamber was remarkable. There were books with leather covers, old coins in small velvet pouches, paintings of people in old-fashioned clothes, and objects that seemed to come from faraway lands. Each item looked carefully chosen and preserved. Ravi felt as if he had stepped into a time capsule. He walked slowly along the shelves, examining each item. The coins were from different countries, some shiny, some old and worn. The paintings showed families, travelers, and people dressed in clothes he had never seen before. The books were filled with notes in careful handwriting. Ravi could feel the care and love that had gone into collecting and preserving these treasures. One shelf caught his attention more than the others. It had small boxes with delicate carvings, similar to the one that held the map and key. Ravi opened them one by one. Inside, he found more maps, letters, and small objects like compasses and miniature tools. Each item seemed to tell a story. The letters described adventures, travels, and discoveries from long ago. The maps showed hidden places in the town and even beyond, in nearby forests and rivers. Ravi sat down on the floor with the journal he had found in the buried box. He began reading it carefully. The journal told the story of a man named Armin, who had lived in the town many years ago. Armin had been a traveler and collector. He had loved learning about different cultures, collecting rare items, and writing about his experiences. He had hidden the treasures to protect them, leaving clues for someone curious and brave enough to find them. As Ravi read, he felt connected to Armin. The man's handwriting and stories were full of life. He could imagine Armin traveling through towns, rivers, and forests, collecting small treasures and writing letters to share his experiences. Ravi realized that finding the hidden room was only the beginning. There were more stories to discover, more mysteries to solve. Ravi noticed a small chest in the corner of the room. It was locked, and the lock looked different from the keyhole he had just used. He examined the journal carefully. A page mentioned a chest with a second key hidden behind a painting in the living room. Ravi smiled, feeling the thrill of a new challenge. He ran upstairs to the living room and looked at the walls, examining the paintings. One painting of a landscape with mountains seemed slightly loose. Ravi gently lifted it and found a small key taped behind it. He returned to the hidden chamber and used the new key to open the chest. Inside, he found more letters, small jewelry, and a few old coins that shimmered even after decades. The letters were personal, describing Armin's adventures, the people he met, and the lessons he learned. Ravi felt as if Armin was speaking to him across time, sharing his stories and trusting him to keep them safe. Ravi spent hours exploring the hidden chamber. Every shelf, every box, and every object told a story. He took notes in his notebook, recording the details of the coins, maps, and letters. He imagined showing the collection to people in the town, but he also felt that some things were too personal, meant only for someone who truly understood Armin's care and patience. As the sun began to set, Ravi decided to organize the chamber carefully. He dusted the shelves, arranged the books and boxes neatly, and made a small table for writing notes and examining items. The room, once hidden and forgotten, was now alive with history and stories. Ravi realized that he had discovered something more important than treasure. He had found a connection to the past and a mystery that had waited for someone curious enough to solve it. Before leaving the hidden chamber, Ravi looked around one last time. He felt proud and respectful. Armin's treasures were not just valuable objects, they were memories, lessons, and stories preserved for the future. Ravi promised himself to take care of the chamber, continue exploring the clues, and learn as much as he could. Ravi left the hidden room and locked the small door. He carefully pushed the bookshelf back into place, making it look ordinary again. To anyone visiting the house, it would seem like a normal living room. But Ravi knew the truth. Behind the bookshelf was a world full of history, adventure, and stories waiting to be discovered. That night, Ravi could hardly sleep. He thought about the hidden chamber, the maps, the letters, and the coins. He imagined what other secrets the house might hold and how much more he could learn. The adventure had grown beyond his imagination. The house no one wanted had given him a gift far greater than he expected, a connection to the past, a challenge to explore, and a mystery to solve. Ravi closed his eyes and smiled. He knew that tomorrow would bring new discoveries. He had unlocked the secret room, but the story of the house and its treasures was far from over. The adventure had only just begun, and Ravi was ready to follow it wherever it led, learning, exploring, and uncovering the secrets hidden behind the walls. The next morning, Ravi woke up feeling excited. He could not stop thinking about the hidden chamber and all the treasures he had discovered. Today, he decided, he would study the journal more carefully. He wanted to understand the stories behind each item and learn about the life of the man who had hidden them, Armin. Ravi packed his bag with the journal, notebook, and pen and hurried to the old house. When he reached the house, the sunlight made the broken windows shine. The garden, though overgrown, looked calm and quiet. Ravi unlocked the door and entered. The living room felt different now. After discovering the hidden room, it was no longer just an old house. It felt alive with history and stories waiting to be told. Ravi moved the large bookshelf aside and opened the hidden door. The staircase led him down into the secret chamber. The room smelled of old wood and paper. Dust floated in the light of his flashlight. He carefully placed the journal on the small table he had arranged and opened it to a fresh page. Today, he would take notes and try to piece together the full story of Armin's life and adventures. The journal began with simple entries about Armin's childhood. He had loved exploring forests, rivers, and towns near his home. He wrote about collecting small treasures he found along the way. Seashells, coins, little toys, and letters from people he met during his travels filled his early years. Ravi smiled as he read. Armin's handwriting was careful and neat, full of curiosity and wonder. As Ravi read further, the journal described Armin as a traveler and collector in his adult years. He visited many towns and villages, learning about the people and their cultures. He described small adventures in detail, a river crossing, a forest path, or a marketplace filled with colors and smells. Ravi felt as if he was traveling with Armin, seeing the world through his eyes. The journal also explained why Armin had hidden the treasures. He had feared that people would take them without understanding their value or the stories behind them. He wanted someone brave and patient to find them, someone who would appreciate the history, the effort, and the care that went into collecting each item. Ravi realized that he had been chosen by Armin without even knowing it. One entry mentioned a hidden room in a house, filled with books, coins, and objects from faraway lands. Armin had written the entry as if he were speaking directly to the future finder. This room holds the memories of my life. Treat each item with respect. Read the letters, study the maps, and you will understand my journey. The world is full of small wonders. Do not lose them. Ravi felt a strong connection to the man. It was as if Armin trusted him to continue the story. Ravi decided to examine the items in the chamber carefully. He took a small box from the shelf and opened it. Inside were rare coins from different countries. Each coin had a small note explaining when and where Armin had found it. Ravi studied the notes, writing down details in his notebook. He could imagine Armin traveling through distant lands, collecting these coins, and recording every detail. Next, Ravi looked at the letters in another box. Some were from Armin's friends, describing adventures they had shared. Others were letters from strangers, people he met during his travels. The letters were polite and kind, full of stories of generosity, friendship, and discovery. Ravi realized that Armin's life had been full of curiosity and learning. Every letter and object reflected his respect for the world and its people. The maps in the chamber were especially fascinating. They showed towns, rivers, forests, and mountains, some familiar and some unknown. Certain parts of the maps were marked with symbols, just like the one Ravi had found in the buried box. He studied the maps carefully, comparing them to the town and surrounding areas. He noticed small trails, secret paths, and hidden locations that Armin had recorded. Each symbol seemed to tell a story or point to a small mystery waiting to be uncovered. Ravi realized that Armin's treasures were not just objects, they were lessons and experiences. The maps taught him to observe carefully. The letters taught him to value kindness and learning. The coins and small artifacts told stories of distant lands and cultures. Ravi felt grateful for the chance to discover these treasures. He understood that the adventure was as much about learning as it was about finding hidden objects. Hours passed as Ravi explored the chamber, read the journal, and studied the items. He took detailed notes and tried to imagine the journeys Armin had taken. Each discovery gave him a sense of connection to the past. He felt as if Armin had been guiding him all along, through the maps, the journal, and the hidden treasures. As the afternoon sun began to shine through the small window in the chamber, Ravi noticed a small envelope tucked between two books. It was addressed to the future finder of the chamber. With trembling hands, he opened it. Inside was a letter from Armin. It read, "Dear friend, if you have found this room, you have shown patience and curiosity. You understand the value of small treasures and the importance of stories. Keep them safe, share what you learn, and continue the journey of discovery. The world is full of wonders for those who look closely. Remember, every object has a story, and every story is a lesson." Ravi felt a warm glow in his heart. Armin's words made him feel proud and responsible. The hidden chamber was more than a secret room, it was a legacy. Ravi realized that he had been chosen to continue Armin's story, to explore, learn, and protect the treasures for the future. Before leaving the chamber, Ravi carefully arranged the items. He made sure the books, maps, letters, and coins were in order. He cleaned a small area to make a workspace for studying and recording his findings. The room, once forgotten, now felt alive with stories. Ravi knew that he would return every day to explore more and understand deeper lessons hidden within the treasures. When Ravi finally climbed the staircase back to the living room, the sun was setting. The house looked peaceful in the warm light. Ravi paused and looked around. The broken windows, the dusty shelves, and the old furniture no longer seemed empty or scary. They were part of a story that was waiting to be discovered, and Ravi was now part of it. That night, Ravi could hardly sleep. He thought about the hidden chamber, the journal, the maps, and the letters. He imagined the adventures Armin had taken, the people he had met, and the lessons he had learned. Ravi felt inspired. He realized that finding the hidden treasures was only the beginning. There were more mysteries to solve, more stories to uncover, and more lessons to learn. Ravi smiled as he drifted off to sleep. He knew that tomorrow would bring new discoveries. The hidden chamber and Armin's journal had given him not just objects, but a connection to the past, a challenge to explore, and a story to continue. The house no one wanted had become a place of learning, adventure, and inspiration. Ravi was ready to follow the path wherever it led, uncovering every secret and treasure that had waited for decades. The morning sun poured through the broken windows of the old house as Ravi entered with a sense of purpose. Today, he felt, would be the day he discovered the final secret of the hidden chamber. For the last few days, he had explored every corner of the house, followed the map, and studied Armin's journal. He had learned about the treasures, the letters, and the stories behind them. But he sensed there was one last mystery waiting to be revealed. Ravi moved the bookshelf aside and opened the hidden door. The staircase leading down into the chamber seemed familiar now. He had grown comfortable with its darkness and the smell of old stone and dust. He turned on his flashlight and descended slowly, careful not to trip over the uneven steps. Each step made him feel more connected to the past, to the man who had hidden these treasures, and to the journey that had begun when he bought the house. Once he reached the chamber, Ravi took a moment to observe the room. Every shelf, box, and object had a story. He smiled as he looked at the coins, maps, and letters. They had taught him patience, curiosity, and respect for history. Yet his eyes were drawn to a small, locked cabinet in the far corner of the room. He had noticed it before but had never had the key to open it. The cabinet was simple, made of dark wood, but it felt important. Ravi remembered a passage in Armin's journal he had not paid much attention to before. It described a special collection of objects that Armin had gathered over his lifetime and had hidden separately for someone who could understand their value. He realized that the cabinet held these final treasures. He looked around the chamber, searching for a key. Then he noticed a small envelope tucked behind one of the larger books on the top shelf. He opened the envelope carefully. Inside was a small, intricate key with a note. The note read, "For the finder who has proven patience and curiosity, this key will open the final chapter of my life's journey. Treat what you find with care and respect." Ravi's hands shook with excitement. He had been chosen for something special. He inserted the key into the cabinet lock. It turned smoothly, and the cabinet door opened. Inside, Ravi found objects unlike any he had seen before. There were old journals filled with sketches and ideas, small handcrafted tools, delicate jewelry, and letters tied together with ribbon. One object, a small globe, immediately caught his attention. It was intricately detailed, showing lands that had changed over centuries. Ravi ran his fingers gently over it, imagining the adventures Armin had taken to collect such knowledge. He picked up one of the journals and began reading. The pages were filled with sketches of towns, buildings, and forests. There were notes about people Armin had met, lessons he had learned, and advice for the future. Ravi realized that these objects were more than treasures. They were guides, teaching him how to explore, observe, and learn. Each item held knowledge and inspiration, passed down from the past to the present. Ravi spent the day carefully examining everything in the cabinet. He made notes about the objects, drew sketches in his notebook, and tried to understand Armin's intentions. It became clear to him that Armin had wanted someone to continue his work, to study, explore, and learn from the world while appreciating its beauty and history. Ravi felt proud and honored to be that person. As the evening sun began to fade, Ravi stepped back and looked around the chamber. It no longer felt like a secret room in an abandoned house. It was a library, a museum, and a place of learning. It was alive with history and stories, waiting for someone curious enough to understand them. Ravi knew that his life had changed. The house that no one wanted had given him purpose, adventure, and knowledge. Ravi decided to share the treasures in a way that would respect Armin's wishes. He planned to invite scholars, historians, and students to visit the house. He wanted people to learn about the past, to understand the value of patience, curiosity, and careful observation. But he also knew that some things were personal, meant only for someone who truly appreciated their history. He would protect those objects while studying them himself. Over the next few weeks, Ravi worked tirelessly. He cleaned the chamber, arranged the objects neatly, and catalogued the treasures. He repaired broken shelves, dusted off books, and carefully restored items where possible. The hidden room, once dark and forgotten, was now bright, organized, and inviting. Ravi felt a deep satisfaction. The house, which had seemed unwanted and empty, had become a place full of life and learning. Ravi also began exploring the town and nearby forests using Armin's maps. He followed paths that had been marked decades ago, discovering hidden gardens, old stone benches, and quiet places where nature had been left undisturbed. Each location added to his understanding of Armin's life and the world around him. He felt as if he was walking alongside the man, learning his lessons firsthand. One evening, Ravi invited a local historian to see the hidden chamber. The historian was amazed by the treasures, maps, and journals. He explained the historical significance of some of the coins and artifacts. Ravi realized that Armin's collection was more valuable than he had imagined, not in money, but in knowledge and history. The historian encouraged Ravi to document everything carefully, so future generations could learn from it. As months passed, Ravi's life changed in ways he had never expected. The house, once a source of curiosity and mystery, became a place of learning, exploration, and inspiration. People from nearby towns came to see the treasures, hear the stories, and learn about history in a hands-on way. Ravi guided them, sharing what he had discovered and explaining the lessons Armin had left behind. Every evening, Ravi would sit in the hidden chamber, reading the journals, studying the maps, and reflecting on his journey. He felt a strong connection to the past and a deep responsibility for the treasures he had uncovered. He realized that the greatest gift of the house was not the objects themselves, but the opportunity to learn, explore, and grow. Ravi also understood that the house had chosen him for a reason. Most people had avoided it, judging it by its appearance and overgrown garden. But Ravi had seen its potential, its stories, and its secrets. The house had rewarded his curiosity and patience, giving him a life filled with adventure, learning, and purpose. Years later, the house became known as a place of discovery. Visitors came to study history, explore the treasures, and learn about the past. Ravi continued to care for the hidden chamber, following Armin's wishes. He taught others that every object has a story, every story has a lesson, and every lesson is valuable if one is patient and curious. Ravi never forgot the day he bought the house no one wanted for pennies. That decision had led him to a world of hidden treasures, forgotten stories, and timeless lessons. The house had transformed his life, just as he had transformed it. It was no longer a place to be avoided, but a home filled with history, adventure, and hope for the future. As Ravi closed the hidden door at the end of each day, he felt a quiet joy. The house was alive with stories, the treasures were safe, and the lessons of the past were being carried forward. He knew that the adventure would never truly end. The house, the hidden chamber, and Armin's treasures would continue to inspire him and anyone who was brave enough to explore them. Ravi smiled and whispered to himself, "This house was waiting for me, and I will make sure it continues to tell its story." He knew that sometimes the greatest treasures are not gold or jewels, but the stories, lessons, and discoveries that change a person's life forever.